So originally, I was going to actually film this offline and then put it on YouTube later, but I decided to do it live here on Twitch just so you guys in chat can ask questions along the way. Just if you have any questions about it, post it in the chat, and then after I'll go through it and answer them. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's just turn my face off for this. 1 second. There we go. All right. So as a few of you know, I've been working on some trading cards, or a trading card game. That's trading card game that's based on Destiny, and it's called Lighthouse TCG. And here is the concept and game mechanics. So let's get into it. First of all, a little introduction about who I am. So my name's Jason, but all you guys would probably know me as the Stonk Prince, or the gamer formerly known as Prince of Perth on PlayStation. I've been a Destiny player since D1 beta. I've been a gamer since for like 30 years, but I've been playing Destiny, since the beta came out. And yeah, I probably got something like 4,000 hours in D2, and I think around 3,000 hours in D1. I started Insomnia at the beginning of D2 with my two friends Manshot and Dream, and we've built a great active community, and I'm so proud of every member in Insomnia, and I really just made this game for all of us to play. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm also a huge fan of card games, so whether physical such as Pokemon or poker, or digital like Hearthstone and Yu-Gi-Oh, I am a really big fan of card games. So in the city where I live now, we're in a COVID lockdown. It's been about I think maybe now 8 weeks, and it gets pretty hard and I've struggled to find things to do. So I worked on this game to keep me busy. Alright, so let's get into it. What is it? So Lighthouse is a digital card game inspired by our guardians in Destiny. The object of Lighthouse is to form a fire team and battle the opponent's fire team. And the first player to win 5 rounds wins the game. So there's a sample of one of the cards. So let's get into how it works. So first we're going to have a look at the cards that we'll be using. And every card is made up of 4 main properties. So the first main property is the stats. So this is represented by mobility, resilience, recovery, discipline, intellect, and strength, which should be very, very, very familiar to the people that play Destiny. The second and third properties are the weapons and the subclass. So here you can see the weapons are Crimson, Adored, Sub-Zero Salvo, and the subclass, Big Money Mitch, is a Stasis Hunter. So the element of the weapons and subclass will be colored on the text. So just as we have here, Solar Void Arc Stasis. And every card will also have an exotic armor piece, which will give a buff to a certain stat. So in this case, Big Money Mitch, he loves his stompies. We've given him the exotic stompies, which will grant him plus 10 mobility. So this goes on top of his base stats. So his stats over here, the plus 10 mobility would kick in and boost his mobility to 98. Some cards also have an extra effect, which will trigger before a fight begins. So in this case, Big Money Mitch, he's a great sniper, and he favors maps like Fortress and Widow's Court. So we're going to give Big Money Mitch plus 10 resilience and plus 10 recovery to his stats if we're on that map. So yeah, every card might have an effect, and they're all going to be different. So at the start of the game, players are going to draw 6 cards. And yeah, so here's how it will start. This is what the game board would look like. So players will position 3 of their cards in the lanes facing your opponent's cards, and this would be your fire team. So if we have a look at our board, I've got 6 cards in my hand, my opponent's got 6 cards in their hand, and I would place my cards in G1, or Guardian 1, Guardian 2, and Guardian 3, and my opponent would place their cards in opponent's Guardian 1, opponent's Guardian 2, opponent's Guardian 3. So you'll see it's like divided into lanes So if a Guardian can win more let's go back. Battles are determined by the stats, weapons, and subclass of each Guardian. And if a Guardian can win more of these battles than the opposing Guardian, they will be the victor of the fight. This is a lot to take in, but once I explain it, it should be pretty simple to see what's going on. The team that wins the most fights wins the round. So remember, a team that wins 5 rounds will win the game, and the team that wins the most battles wins the fight. Alrighty, so the object is to place your Guardian in a lane where you think they will win. So each lane has a stat which will determine the first battle. Let's go, I can't go back, hang on. If you have a look at these lanes, I've got symbols to determine what stat is what. So we've got a resilience stat, a discipline stat, and a strength stat. So let's just focus on this first lane here, my Guardian versus opponent's Guardian in the resilience lane. So each lane has a stat. The first lane favors resilience, and it's represented by that symbol. So basically the Guardian with the highest resilience in this lane will win the stat battle. The other 2 stat lanes are discipline and strength in this round in this example. Okay, so we'll just go back. There you go, discipline and strength. So on the super round, all the stats are changed to intellect. That's just a hint for later. Here is an example of a fight between 2 Guardian cards in the resilience lane. The fights are made up of 3 battles. Okay, so this is an example of a fight. My opponents just used the Big Money Mitch card that we saw earlier, and I'm using the Dream card. I know that the stats and everything is really, really hard to read at the moment, and this is definitely not the final design of the cards. I do plan on making it a lot easier to read and to see what's going on, and to even simplify them further. But let's have a look. So the first battle between the 2 cards takes place. It's the stat battle. Big Money Mitch has a resilience of 62, and my Dream card has a resilience of 54. So Big Money Mitch would win this battle because he's got the highest resilience. Easy, piece of cake. Next, the weapon battle takes place. So for those with a keen eye, you would have seen that this map, the picture of this map is actually Jav 4. And in the top right hand corner, I've got 3 symbols of weapons. So I've got a hand cannon, a pulse rifle, and a fusion rifle. So on Jav 4, if a Guardian card is using any of these weapons, they will get priority to win that sort of battle. So let's have a look here. So Big Money Mitch is a sniper rifle and a hand cannon. He's using a Crimson and a T.E.D. And Dream has got his trusty Mitre multi-tool and a shotgun. So Big Money Mitch would win this battle since he has a preferred weapon type, a hand cannon on this map. So that's the stat battle. Moving on, the last battle between the 2 cards takes place, and it's the subclass battle. So Dream is a solar warlock, and Mitch is a stasis hunter. It doesn't really matter what class they are, so warlock or hunter, we're not going to do master race here. All we care about is the subclass element, and solar beats stasis in this game, so Dream would win this battle. But since Big Money won 2 of the 3 battles, he would win the fight. So Dream would then go to the graveyard, and I would draw a card to replace him for the next round. These battles happen for the Guardian cards in the other 2 lanes, and the team with more winning Guardians wins the round. So how do we determine what beats what in a battle? So as I mentioned before, there's 3 main battles between the cards. There's the stat battle, and the highest stat will win. A weapon battle, and this is going to be entirely dependent on what map is what. Originally I had stuff like, hand cannon beats scout rifle and we'll give them a 1.5 times bonus, but they're weak against SMGs, and it got very, very complicated. And I don't want the game to be complicated at all. I want someone to just be able to see straight away, okay, my Guardian's got a shotgun, it's going to be good on Burnout. My Guardian's got a trace rifle or a scout rifle, it's going to be good on Endless Veil, and so on. And before, it was turning into like a Pokemon type chart, and those things get really, really complicated. I don't want that for this game, just something nice and easy. And the third battle is the subclass battle. So From this picture, hopefully you can see solar beats stasis, stasis beats arc, arc beats void, and void beats solar. One thing to note is if the weapon battle is a draw, you can use the element of the energy weapon to determine if there is an advantage. So let's just say that both Guardian cards are using hand cannon and they're on Jav, and they're both using shotguns. The element would come into play. So maybe, one of the Guardians has a void hand cannon and the other one's got a solar shotgun. The Guardian with the void hand cannon would win that battle. Here are a couple of notes about the games. So each game of Lighthouse can go from 5 to 10 rounds. So as I mentioned at the very start, to win the game, you have to win 5 rounds. So if you completely annihilate your opponent, it would only last 5, whereas if you ping pong or you win 1, lose 1, then it could go to 10 rounds. Every time a Guardian falls in a fight, the player that lost the Guardian draws a card. So we always want to have 6 Guardian cards in hand until they have selected the fire team of 3, and then they'll have 3 on the board and then 3 in their hand. A round is tied if both players have the same amount of Guardian cards returning to their hand. Then the round is replayed. Players can select different Guardians from their hand or position their hands in different lanes to gain an advantage. Okay. You can throw out the same Guardian in the same lane, but if you're thinking, that your opponent might do the same thing, you might position differently or choose another Guardian. So there is a certain amount of strategy involved in this game too, rather than just chucking out any Guardian card. The stat lanes will change depending on the round. So in our first example, we had the resilience, the discipline, and the strength stat lanes for round 1. They're going to change basically depending on the round, and it's going to be fixed. So round 2 might be resilience, recovery, strength. Round 3 might be something else. But on round 4 and round 8, these are going to be reserved for intellect rounds. So every lane becomes an intellect round, and this is going to symbolize the super round in Trials. So one strategy might be to hold onto a card with high intellect for an upcoming intellect round. If you think back to our battle before between Mitch and Dream, Mitch won the battle, but Dream had ridiculously high intellect. He had 100 intellect. So if I saved the Dream card and played him on an intellect round, he would win the stat battle. He would still lose the weapon battle, but he would win the subclass battle. So winning 2 of 3, he would actually win the fight. Round 3 and round 6 will be heavy weapon rounds. So the following will take priority over the weapon battle. So in round 3 and round 6, we don't care about what primary or secondary a Guardian has. All we care about is their heavy weapon. And this is how you determine what beats what in a heavy weapon battle. So rocket launcher beats sword and machine gun beats linear fusion rifle and sword, and so on, and so on, and so on. So it's just like, I can do up a chart for this as well to make that easy. And if it's a tie, you just check the element of the heavy to see if there's an advantage there. Okay, that brings me to the last sort of mechanic of the trading card game, which is the mobility and effects. So we haven't covered mobility yet, but it's a mechanic to determine when the effect triggers and in what order. So before the 3 fights take place, each Guardian's effect triggers in the order of their mobility. So the highest mobility goes first. Effects can manipulate the stats and weapons before a fight. And effects can sway the results of a battle and can ultimately win an unfavorable fight. The example I've shown here is the JT card. He's got a mobility of 72, which is quite high. And before the fight starts, he's going to weaken all the opposing Guardians. I chose this effect because he's actually got a divinity on, and if you play Destiny, you know that divinity debuffs the opponents, and here we have the JT card debuffing opponents, giving them all -10 resilience, -10 recovery, and -10 discipline to the entire fire team. Look, in hindsight, this card is probably a bit OP, but it's very early days, and I'll most likely change it. Maybe make it -5. Loot, loot, loot. So the goal of this game is to have hundreds or even thousands of different cards that the player can collect by opening packs or earn by reaching certain achievement milestones. And of course, if you win 7 games in a row, a special reward will be given to the player after visiting a certain house. Every card will have a rarity. The cards I've shown in this presentation today are of exotic quality, and that's indicated by the background on the name. So only one of their kind would be usable in a deck. Other card rarities will be common, rare, and legendary, and you can have up to 2 copies in the deck. I've given it some thought, and I would say that you probably can't have more than, say, 5 exotic cards in a deck. If you build a deck made entirely of exotic cards, chances are it's going to be too OP and broken, and we want to, encourage good deck building, so having a limit on the amount of exotic cards in a deck just makes sense. So as you win the fights, your exotic quality cards that are in your deck will actually gain XP, and eventually you'll be able to masterwork an exotic card, and which will add +2 to all the base stats and give it a shiny border. It will also track how many fights that card has won going forward. So just a homage to masterworking in Destiny. And it'll give you like an incentive to keep playing to level up your cards. So where do we go from here? I created this game as my hobby, it's not my job. So I am still in the process of building a database for the Guardian cards. And when the time comes, I will decide on the platform on which to build it. I want every card in the game to be an actual Guardian, so if you play Destiny and you have a favorite build, please feel free to email me a screenshot of your Guardian with their stats. It can either be a PvP or PvE build, it will make no difference to the balancing of the card. And also send me a picture of your clan's banner so I can put it in the background. Hopefully this presentation ends up on YouTube, and I'll put my email in the description below. As you can see from the initial card design, I have a long way to go, but it should be a fun and rewarding journey. The end goal is a game every Destiny fan can enjoy with and play with their clan. Thank you guys for listening to my TED Talk. If you have any questions, please put them in chat and I'll go through them. I'm just going to look at it now because I haven't had a chance to look. Jimmy says, quick question, crossplay comes soon, doesn't it? Yep, Jimmy, that's next season, so next week we should be getting crossplay. Good stuff. Guessing you start with cards face down. Jester, yes, good question. So it's not a turn-based game. When a round starts, you both have like a minute and a half to pick the cards that you're going to put in your fire team, and you'd be placing those cards face down until both players are ready, and then you would reveal the cards. So when a card is revealed face up, if the card wins, it goes back to the player's hand. So then you actually have insight into the next round as what they could send out for the next round. Whereas if your Guardian dies in battle, you draw a card and they won't know the next Guardian until it appears. So that's how that's going to work. Just to see if there's any more questions. Phoenix says, can he go to the tower instead of the graveyard? Good question, Phoenix. I haven't thought about that one yet, but let's just say that Dream's pretty powerful. He can probably self-res and put himself back in the deck. I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the effects later on. Incoming nerf to JT. Yep, correct. How many cards are we allowed to have in the deck? Okay. I gave this one a bit of thought too, and I would say minimum probably 30 cards. Because let's just say the game goes for a long time and you're losing, say, 2 Guardians around, or sometimes you lose 1, sometimes you lose 2, sometimes you lose 3. You'd want at least 30 cards in the deck. Any more questions regarding the game? Lighthouse. Yeah, Lighthouse, that's going to be a thing if you get 7 wins in a row. So 7 wins in a row and you'll get a special reward for doing that. Thoughts about weapon cards slash ghost cards for special abilities. I had a thought about a side deck where one of the effects was pull a card from a side deck, which might be just consisting of ghost cards. And it might just provide a small buff or a replacement of a weapon or something like that. Yeah, so I have had thoughts about that. I want to make the game sort of less complicated to start with, just so anyone can pick it up and see what's going on. And then later, we can go into something like that and just add little mechanics here and there. All good. I don't think there's any more questions. If you do have any more questions, you can email me if you're watching this on YouTube, or just send me a message on Discord. Cool. Thanks, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it.